Welcome to today's explainer. So, nature's hidden wisdom in the biblical text. Get ready because we are going on an absolutely amazing adventure today. We're opening up the biblical text, which, if you think about it, is literally like a giant treasure map. And the best part? This map is absolutely packed with hidden wisdom about the incredible world He created for us. We're going to uncover some fantastic secrets hidden right in plain sight. In animals, in people, even in just everyday things around us. It's going to be so much fun, so let's just jump right in.
What do a lizard, a king, and a twisted nose have in common? Okay, I know, it sounds completely crazy, right? Like a twisted nose? But stick with me here, because by the end of this explainer, we're going to solve this exact riddle together using some incredible clues hidden right there in the biblical text.
Part 1. The earth trembles.
So, to kick things off, we've got to look at this really cool pattern. The writer of the biblical text uses this fun sort of countdown, saying, under 3 things the earth trembles, under 4 it cannot bear up. Basically, it's a way of saying, hey, pay attention, because what I'm about to tell you is completely shocking. He gives us 4 totally upside-down surprises that make the earth, well, literally tremble. Think about it. A servant suddenly becoming a king. A foolish person who totally ignores him, yet somehow gets all the food they could ever want. A bitter, contemptible woman who suddenly gets married, and a servant who ends up taking over the house from her mistress. These just totally break the normal rules of the world. But hey, this is just the warm-up, because the biblical text is about to show us some surprises in nature that are even wilder.
Part 2, small but extremely wise. Okay, so we just looked at some wild human surprises, but now we're shifting our focus to this amazing animal squad. He made so many incredible creatures, and honestly, some of the very best ones aren't giant elephants or huge whales, but these tiny little creatures packed with super smart habits. Meet the Tiny Wisdom Squad. First up, we've got the ants. They're tiny, right? Creatures of little strength. But he gave them the incredible wisdom to work super hard all summer just to store up food for the winter. Next are the hyraxes. These are adorable, fluffy little animals that kind of look like groundhogs. They're creatures of little power, no big sharp teeth or heavy armor, but they make their home in the crags. Then we have the locusts. Think of them like big grasshoppers. They have no king or general yelling orders at them, yet they all advance together perfectly in ranks, like a massive team. And finally, the lizard. You can easily catch a little lizard with your hand, yet these sneaky little guys are found hanging out in kings' palaces.
Actually, let's pause for just a second on the hyraxes, because they live in the crags. Now, if you're wondering what in the world a crag is, it's basically a really steep, rugged, rocky cliff used as a hiding place. The really crucial point here is that even though the fluffy little hyrax is small and kind of weak, he gave it the wisdom to build its home deep inside giant, unbreakable rocks. Because the hyrax is smart enough to hide in those strong rocks, no predator can ever get to it. Now that is some serious wisdom.
Part 3. Stately and mighty steps.
All right, so we've met the Tiny Wisdom Squad, but now the biblical text introduces us to a completely different group of animals. We're moving from the tiny and sneaky to the bold and brave. But before we meet them, we've got to understand a pretty big word: stately. When someone or something is stately, they're acting in a very proud, impressive, and royal way. Just imagine a king marching into a room with his chin held high, wearing a giant crown. That is being stately. You aren't slouching, you aren't hiding. You are walking like you completely own the place. So let's meet the stately squad. First off, the lion. He's mighty among beasts and retreats before absolutely nothing. Then we have a strutting rooster. I know, it sounds a little funny, but think about how a rooster puffs out his chest and takes those proud, confident steps around the barnyard. He's totally fearless. Then there's the he-goat, leading his whole herd forward with power. And lastly, a mighty king who is totally secure against revolt in his kingdom. You know, the biblical text groups these 4 together because they all march forward bravely. He perfectly designed them to show us what true, bold confidence really looks like.
Part 4. Actions always have reactions.
Okay, so we've learned about surprising humans, wise little insects, and brave animals. Now the biblical text brings it all together to teach us a little bit of everyday science, cause and effect. And hey, this is exactly where the twisted nose from our riddle comes back. The biblical text gives us a really simple 3-step lesson here. Number 1, if you take heavy cream and churn it up, just beating it over and over, what happens? You get butter. Number 2, if you reach out and twist a nose really, really hard, and please do not try this at home, what happens? It produces blood. Ouch! Every single action has a reaction. So here's the big lesson for number 3. Just like churning makes butter and twisting makes blood, stirring up anger produces strife.
If you're constantly poking at people, calling names, or losing your temper, well, it's going to cause a huge, messy explosion.
And just to make sure we're completely clear, what exactly is strife? Well, strife means an angry, bitter disagreement. Basically, it means fighting, arguing, and just plain old big trouble. The biblical text is warning us that if we choose to stir up anger, we're basically choosing to create a giant mess of strife in our friendships, in our families, and even in our own hearts. It's a guaranteed reaction.
So what's the secret? How do we stop the strife before it even starts? Well, His wisdom gives us a very simple, very physical instruction. The biblical text says, if you play the fool and exalt yourself, or if you plan evil, clap your hand over your mouth. Wow, think about that. It doesn't just say, try to be quiet. It literally says, take your hand and clap it over your mouth. When you feel that anger bubbling up, or when you're about to say something mean to your brother or sister, or when you just want to show off and be foolish, just slap your hand right over your lips. Stop those words from ever coming out.
And there we have it. We solved the riddle. The lizard, the king, and the twisted nose are all incredible examples He placed right there in the biblical text to teach us wisdom. We learn that true wisdom isn't always about being the biggest, but about being smart like the tiny squad. We learn to be confident like the stately squad. And most importantly, we learn that our actions always cause reactions. So I want to leave you with this one question to think about today. The next time you feel angry and you just really want to say something mean to start a fight, will you remember to literally clap your hand over your mouth? You got to try it. It's an amazing piece of wisdom that can save you from a whole lot of trouble. Thanks so much for learning with me today, and keep searching for all those amazing treasures hidden in the biblical text.